Hello and welcome to Undercommon Taste. This is a podcast where we create and discuss homebrew content for tabletop RPGs.
Them some thick squiggles.
I didn't think you were actually going to do it.
Yeah. I had a quote all picked out and it was all topic appropriate, but nope, them thick squiggles.
I'm not even going to give any context for that. I will let the audience try and figure out context for that. Anyway,
it's going to be that kind of episode, boys and girls. Just buckle in. It's going to be fun. Let them squiggles do the squiggle things.
So I'm Ian Woodworth. I'm joined by my co-host James Daly. And today we are not talking about squiggles beyond what we already have.
We could be, actually.
Maybe. James had an idea for an episode that he wanted to talk about, and I liked it, and so I decided we were going to go ahead and run with it. Today we're going to be talking about running pacifist characters.
Yeah, I think this can be an interesting take, especially for some of our more veteran players at the tables. Most of our tabletop games tend to be more or less combat simulators, and especially with later editions, there has been a push for roleplay. And even throughout history, even in times of war, there have been great stories of pacifists serving a role within combat or otherwise without actually enacting violence. And this is kind of like the polar opposite of, session one murder hobos that everyone kind of thinks they're going to do on their first session, like I said. So this is something that a more veteran player is going to do. It's going to take a bit more finesse and kind of planning and thinking. It doesn't mean your player has to be all flowers and sunshine, but your player should strive to do absolutely no physical damage to any opponent.
Right. And honestly, there are grades of pacifism.
Yes.
And I think we can talk about that here in a little bit. But playing a pacifist character is going to be more or less difficult depending on the game you're playing.
Very true.
If you're playing a game like Warhammer Fantasy, I don't know how you would do that.
Yeah, that's probably not going to go.
Because I think that trying to play a pacifist character in a game like Warhammer Fantasy, I think that is just so antithetical to the ethos of the game that it would be disingenuous to the other players at the table to try to do it.
Yeah.
Without a substantial conversation and understanding with everybody else at the table. That is something that is definitely going to require buy-in from everybody, the game master and all of the other players, in addition to the person who is running this character. But you have other games, the more story-driven the game is, generally speaking, the easier it would be to run a pacifist character.
Yeah.
I think it would be really interesting to run a pacifist character in something like Monster of the Week.
Yes, that would be quite interesting.
Someone who is maybe like an anthropologist or a researcher or, a cryptozoologist or whatever you want to run with, but someone who is an academic and not a fighter. And so while they have access to the kick some ass move, they just decide not to take it. Decide not to use it. And there may be some tension there with those sorts of decisions, but I think that would make an interesting character for a storyline.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you also have games like Fate that are hugely, almost exclusively story-driven. You've got games like Brindlewood Bay, where you're basically playing as a bunch of dowagers solving eldritch mysteries. I think that would be a game that would be relatively easy to play a pacifist character in.
Yeah. Even something like Call of Cthulhu or even something standard like D&D, you can run this very well. And just because you're a pacifist doesn't mean you can't necessarily take quote, quote, offensive action, but your offensive action should not harm. So spells like hold person, or if you like, again, just focusing on D&D or those that are D&D adjacent, focusing like on the School of Illusion, that kind of thing to disorient or otherwise confuse what would otherwise be a threat. But figuring out a way to solve your combat issues or to extract yourself from combat without, throwing hands is kind of the goal.
I mean, there are all sorts of different ways that you could in D&D play a character that is still effective in a party composition, that is not hindering the party, that is still contributing to everything, and is a pacifist. Most of them will require being in an at least half caster class.
Yes. Yeah, you
Because
couldn't go a full melee focus class and still do that, I don't think. That wouldn't fly.
I mean, I can see ways that you could do it, but they would require an awful lot of very careful play.
Yeah. I mean, those charisma checks would be crazy.
and and also, this is going to play into what kind of pacifist are you? And I think that's a conversation we're going to have here in a minute. Right now, we're still talking about specifically magical characters,
Right.
different archetypes of magical pacifists that you could play in a game like D&D. First one would be, this is one for clerics, like the combat medic. So their whole arsenal is heal spells and buffs and debuffs. Their whole thing is just, keeping everybody on their feet.
Right.
As you mentioned, illusionists, disorienting the people who are trying to hurt you, throwing them off of your trail by using illusion to misdirect, using illusion to infiltrate without combat in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Making them think that even just approaching you using, what's hallucination, where they think the ground next to you is hazardous ground, so they can't cross. So they're just unwilling to even approach.
So that plays into the next one, which is enchanters.
Yes.
So, because hallucinatory terrain is one that kind of straddles that line, whether it is an illusion or whether you are making them think, whether you're tricking their eyes or you're tricking their, inside their brain.
Right.
Whether it's external or internal, this illusion. Fair. But enchantment, that's all of your charm person, your dominate person. And I think most of your major buff spells, improvability? The one that used to be broken out into the 6 different spells for this.
Yeah, like Eagle Splendor and Bear Strength and Cat's Grace, and I know all of those, but it might be improvability now. I miss the individual spells.
Yeah, but those would all fall under the enchantment school. A fun one could be transmuters.
Yes.
Because that would be things like transforming the other combatants with spells like polymorph.
Yeah, everyone's a bunny.
Or placing or removing obstacles. So things like control flames, control water, mold earth, earth to stone, gust of wind.
Yeah.
Spike growth and plant growth are both transmutation spells. So what you're doing is you are using the terrain and changing the combatants into something that is less threatening so that you don't have to harm them. And these are typically spells that have a set duration and will wear off on their own. So it's not permanent.
Yeah. Within tabletop gaming, this is called map control. I think a really good use of this or examples of this was in early WoW, particularly Classic WoW and up through Wrath. You had certain characters that were in a party, particularly the mage, where you'd bring them solely for crowd control. They were DPS characters, but they could, cast an ice block on an enemy to freeze them in place so you could get around and eliminate other enemies, or as Ian said, polymorph
and frost nova.
Yeah, you had spells that just limited where the enemies could move or if they could even move, so your party could take advantage of that limitation, whatever it may be. And so that kind of map control really can make a huge difference on a tabletop game. Because if they can't come over here and they're stuck in a corner, you can approach them, the party can approach them at their leisure, or just leave them behind if needed.
Yeah. And then one that I had that was be kind of a gray area would be necromancy.
I was thinking the same thing. How were you thinking with necromancers? Where were you going to go with this one?
I was going to go along the lines of, they don't attack the living.
Okay.
Their exclusive prerogative is the elimination of the undead.
Okay.
The elimination or subjugation of the undead, depending on their alignment, right? And
I could see that. I honestly could see a lawful evil or a neutral evil necromancer, building that framework in their mind so they are convinced they are doing the right thing. And necromancers don't kill people, minions kill people.
Well, and I'm trying to remember the term. I think it's the death guides. They're clerics of. Oh, I'm drawing a blank. He's a lawful neutral death god.
Kelmvor?
Kelimvor,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. Yeah, so Kelimvor, the clerics of Kelimvor, I think are called death guides. I got close. They're actually called doom guides. And so their whole thing is to ease a person's passage from life into death and to find and dispatch non-consensual undead.
Okay.
Right. And so they are necromancers. There is no if and or but about it, but they have a very strict code of conduct, a very strict guidelines around what they can use this divine death magic for. And so I think that having a character following that sort of archetype, following that sort of guidance, would be a very interesting character to play.
Yeah, I think that could be really fun to play. The other thing that I was initially thinking with necromancers is Wizards of the Coast have brought back aura effects. So things like fear and terror, those are generally found with necromancer classes. And using those effects to, again, control the map and keep people away. So, like, they just won't approach you because they're frozen or running in fear.
Right, yeah.
I was going to say one other IP that I think playing a pacifist would be really interesting would be Vampire the Masquerade, and especially something like a Malkavian or a Toreador pacifist would be super interesting.
Yeah, I can see that. Or even it would be kind of an interesting thing to see like a Ventru.
Okay, yeah, definitely Ventru, yeah.
Pacifist. Just because they view themselves as being so high and mighty and above everybody else,
right?
So superior that I can see them, and it would be sort of a self-aggrandizing thing, even.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially if they're like fairly far on that path back to their humanity, like they were at like 7, 8, or 9 of their humanity points. And so they elevated themselves almost to a point of narcissism with their pacifism.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be fun. Oh, that would be fun. I could see that being an NPC the DM would play and the party trying to do things to tear them down or to get them to lash out, break their pacifism and perhaps the masquerade at the same time. Oh, that would be a fun story hook.
Yeah, because I would see that as being someone who would be like a fairly high-ranking member of the Camarilla court.
Yeah.
In whatever city you're playing in.
Yes.
Not the prince. It couldn't be the prince, I don't think. I don't think the prince being the pacifist would fit as well.
Probably not as well, no. But yeah, definitely someone high up a muckety muck.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about their seneschal. We're not talking about their scourge. We're definitely not their scourge.
Yeah, or the sheriff. Yeah,
You cannot be the scourge of a prince and be a pacifist.
Right.
That contradicts your job description.
The Malkavian might with madness. It would be very delicate, but maybe.
Yeah,
but that'd be
I
a
don't
really
think so.
Yeah, that'd be a sketchy line to walk.
Because that Malkavian would have to get to the point where they were made the scourge in the first place.
Yeah, there's that too.
And getting made a scourge, getting made the scourge is not something that somebody who does not just straight up kill people.
Fair, yeah.
Gets.
If you don't dirty your hands, you're not getting that job.
Absolutely not. like my character in the last vampire game that we played was a Brujah. His name was Jimmy Nardello, and that was his goal. That was his ultimate goal. His ultimate goal was to rise through the ranks and become the scourge of the prince.
Oh, that would have been fun.
And unfortunately, we only got like 2 or 3 sessions in that game. But that was his ultimate goal, and I would really love an opportunity to get another game together and to play as Jimmy again.
Yeah.
Because Jimmy was just a fun character. I loved his concept.
Yeah.
He fucking hates the La Sombra.
But Jimmy, not a pacifist.
Oh, absolutely not. He ran with Al Capone. He's a World War I veteran. He
Yeah.
ran with Al Capone. Yeah.
But again, going back to the pacifist, though, it is, again, trying to figure out what level of pacifism you want to be, the reasons for your pacifism. And honestly, as a player, I would talk to the DM about maybe giving small bonuses for maintaining that philosophy and definitely penalties of some sort if you do break your pacifist rule.
Yeah, especially if you're playing a pacifist who is a cleric, a paladin, or a warlock.
Yes, absolutely. 1000%.
Because those are the three who are drawing their magical abilities from an entity. They're gifted their powers. And so if you don't follow the rules associated with those powers, you lose them.
Yeah. Though this also brings up a good thing too. A DM or a GM, depending on the player, again, depending on the player's skills, or if that player's just kind of seeming to go off the rails, maybe their patron or their deity steps in and says, no, you've done this thing. Here's your punishment. You're going to be pacifist for the next 2 weeks or whatever that time frame is, next 40 days.
Yeah.
No violence. And you have to go through. I'm kind of thinking it was Belkir in Order of the Stick, where he got the mark of
Yes.
pacifism on him. Yeah, that was a fun arc.
Yeah. I'd forgotten about that. That was
Yeah. I just remembered the Kobold town.
yeah.
Population
And,
just enough.
yeah. And I love the fact that he wore the lead sheet necklace
Yes.
to block detect
Protect
alignment.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really need to go back. I started a reread on those and I stopped. I need to go back and just do a full reread because that is a fun adventure.
Yeah. I was caught up at the point where he had his injury because at one point God, this would have been almost 15 years ago at this point, I guess.
Ian's
But
old.
the comic has been running for a long time too. But there was a stretch of time, it was like 9 months where it didn't get updated. And
Yeah.
there was no word on why it wasn't getting updated. And then he finally came on and he shared a post where he had tripped and fallen through a glass top table
Yeah.
and had severed tendons in his dominant hand.
Yeah.
And so he had all of this time been going through surgeries and rehab to be able to draw again.
Right. Yeah, no, I recall that. That's about when I stopped reading too, unfortunately, just because there was such a huge gap of when he was putting stuff out.
And that was around issue 1100 or 1200, somewhere in that
Something
neighborhood.
like that, yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, we are
we are rambling at this point.
Yeah, we are. This is not an Order of the Stick episode.
Chaos woohoo.
Yeah, chaos woohoo. So yeah, types of pacifists. This is definitely something where there are grades of degrees of pacifism. The broadest and least limiting would be refuses to kill another living creature.
Yeah.
So this would mean that you would still be allowed to kill undead. You'd still be allowed to do constructs, elementals, extraplanar beings, anything that was not a living creature native to the material plane.
Okay. I would take this even a step further, and that kind of reminds me. Have you watched Dungeon Soup with the Chaotic Good Barbarian? It's a bunch of web animation. Yes. And so at one point he comes across the paladin, and the paladin can't kill. The paladin's a pacifist. The paladin can't kill anybody, and like some orcs have stolen his girlfriend. And he goes up and he's like, but I can't kill anyone. And so the barbarian's like, you don't have to, and it basically cuts off his arm, and the paladin heals him. And so they completely like maim and set this orc on fire, but they heal him back and just leave him, this ruined husk of a body, but he's not dead, and they left him at full health.
Yeah, I've got a meme that I saved from way back. Like, I'm pretty sure I found it back when I was still in college. It's a panel from a comic, and I never found out what comic it's from. But it's two people standing like in the wreckage of a skyscraper. And one of them says, "You told me it would be non-lethal." And the guy responded, "Non-lethal doesn't mean painless."
Yes.
And it was in the format of the demotivational posters.
Nice.
And it said, non-lethal damage. The target has 51 hit points. The attack deals 4d10 plus 10 damage. Therefore, it's non-lethal.
Nice. Yeah, I love it.
So that's the mentality that you have with that. Obviously, there is the control that you have to have of your character to be able to harm things, but not get them to the point where you are killing them.
Yeah. And I think honestly, like doing this and starting this way, and then like again, if there's some sort of punishment for breaking that, maybe you don't get the benefits of your next long rest or your next two long rests.
Yeah.
And so maybe again, if you're playing a character where they're going to exhibit some sort of character growth, maybe they dial that back further and further so they don't risk crossing that line because those rules become more and more strict each time they break them.
Exactly. Or if you are always intending to multi-class your character, this could be the tipping point that makes them forsake their oath of
Ooh,
pacifism
yeah,
and continue in this new class.
yeah.
Like if you're starting as a paladin and you end up transitioning into fighter for whatever reason, maybe you just want the extra attacks. But you start off as a paladin and you transition into fighter, that could be the thing that caused you to break your oath and you are, proceeding on as a fighter without any further advancement of your paladin skills.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. Yeah, no, I
Uh,
like that a lot. I think a pacifism oath for a paladin could be really interesting as well.
yeah.
Maybe that's something we could workshop in the future, literally an oath of pacifism, because you could do a lot with a paladin in that way, the same as a cleric. But
Yes.
making that a point where you become an oathbreaker paladin would absolutely be very interesting.
Right. Yeah. All right. So with this particular flavor of pacifist, you might even switch it up to the point where the only thing that you're not allowed to kill are sentient or sapient creatures.
Okay, yeah.
Anything with a mind, anything with a soul. So like just the common beasts, yeah, you can kill those.
You need some bacon.
You know, you get attacked by a wyvern walking between towns, yeah, you can kill that wyvern. You get attacked by a dragon,
Ooh, yeah.
suddenly that line is there and you're not allowed to kill that dragon
Yeah,
because it is
no.
a sentient creature.
Ooh, I like that. Yes.
And so that would end up becoming a character where you have to figure out where your line is
Yeah.
and come to terms with, if you cross that line, how do you come to terms with that? How do you reconcile that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have a table of friends that you know well or you've played with for a while, and this is absolutely something you can discuss on a session zero, but moral quandaries can be a fascinating thing to explore during gameplay.
Yeah. I mean, that's what makes Superman interesting
Yeah,
because nobody has the physical wherewithal within the DC Superman comics to actually really stand toe to toe with Superman without a whole bunch of extra magic and gizmos and gadgets. Just in a man on man fight, there is no fighting Superman.
there isn't, but he chooses to limit himself.
He chooses to limit himself, and it is through those limitations that the villains are able to attack Superman.
Yeah,
That becomes a thing of Superman has to keep his code of ethics in mind and act according to those in ways to achieve what needs to be achieved, but without breaking his code.
yeah,
It would be super easy for him to just fly up to Lex Luthor, rip his head off, and be done with it.
right.
He can't do that because of his code of ethics.
Yeah,
And so that is the sort of morality that we're talking about here with regards to that sort of pacifist ideology.
yeah. And again, that's why I'm saying this is definitely something for the more experienced players because when you're down to like 5 or 6 hit points and things are going sideways, it's easy to be like, meh, I'm not a pacifist anymore. Ta-da, here's this. But
I don't
but
know.
main
I think that a new player could easily play a pacifist character if that is the mindset that they're coming in with.
yeah, if that's the mindset they're coming in with, yes.
I mean, it doesn't require having played a bunch of TTRPGs to play a character that doesn't want to fight things.
That is fair.
I mean, if you're wanting to be like mechanically optimized, yeah, having a little bit of experience with the game is definitely going to help with that.
So
But
maybe it's that like mid-range player that's harder to play it then.
I think that your claim that this should be a thing for more advanced players, that smacks of the same sort of thing of saying, start off new characters with fighters, don't let them play a wizard because it's too complicated.
That is absolutely fair, and I will retract my statement. I will recant that. You do bring up an absolutely fair point.
Yeah, let the player play the character that they want to play.
Yeah,
Just make sure that they understand that, especially with a pacifist character, the pure existence of that character is going to have ramifications for the other players at the table.
yeah,
And they need to understand that going in, and they need to keep that in mind so that they are not having their fun at the expense of the other people at the table.
yes,
Make sure
absolutely.
that everyone is on the same page. This is where being mature and having a conversation is important. This is where having a session 0 conversation is important.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point. And then, like, at that point, too, I kind of want to make the pacifist character. And it's kind of like you get the one F-bomb in a PG-13 movie. And so you get that one time where you can, like, kind of just stick and twist that knife, but it's only once. And so what are you saving it for?
Right, yeah. So, continuing on, the next degree of pacifism, as I have here, is I'm going to combine two because
Because they fit.
well, as I was rereading my notes, these two are close enough together that I can combine them, which is refuses to fight or refuses to harm another living creature.
Okay.
So either they are allowed to fight those things that are, the undead or constructs or elementals or such, but they're not allowed to physically harm other living creatures.
Yeah, I like that.
Or by extension, and this may be one of those things where it's an advancement of this ideology. Maybe they had a slip up and they decided to become more extreme about it to the point where they just refuse to fight, refuse to harm anything.
I like it. I was just thinking, what if you had a Warforge that was instilled with Asimov's 3 rules of robotics?
That could be interesting.
Oh, that would be super interesting. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so for those that aren't familiar, the 3 rules of robotics is a robot cannot harm, in this case, a human, but I'd go with a living creature. The robot cannot self-harm, and the robot cannot allow another creature to be harmed by inaction.
Yes.
And so at some point, those laws come in conflict with each other, as we see in movies like in books like I, Robot. But yeah, no, definitely a Warforged with Asimov's laws of robotics would be a very, very interesting thing to play.
And then that would also bring into question, what happens if the character is mind controlled?
Ooh,
What if they are dominated and they attack someone and kill someone while dominated?
Oh, that's a DM question. I like it.
No, I don't think that's a DM question. I think that's a player question. That is a player question. The player gets to decide for their character, okay, how does your character rationalize this?
Okay, yeah. I was just thinking like if there was going to be some sort of penalty again, if you have like a patron or a deity, how would they rationalize it?
That is true. Yeah, if you have that, and I would think that in that case, I would make the player in character argue their case to their deity or their patron.
Yes. Ooh, I like it. Oh, that could be so much fun. Yeah, definitely. Ooh, okay. Yeah, because again, depending on who the patron is and the alignment of said patron and the temperament of said patron, they could be forgiving and okay, that wasn't your fault. You didn't have control, or they could be very harsh. And I'm doing a quick reread of Dresden Files, so someone like Mab would be like, "Well, you shouldn't have put yourself in position to allow yourself to be controlled." So yeah. Oh yeah, that could be a lot of fun depending on the patron or the deity.
Right, because as I am seeing it, there are going to be 2 overarching just general categories of patron. I'm going to use patron and god and all of that. The entity providing power, we're just using patron as a catch-all right now. There are 2 main categories of patrons in terms of alignment. You're going to have the good ones and the lawful ones.
Yes.
there will be some overlap between the two, but it is the patron's alignment, how the patron would view it, that would determine if, what, and how severe the punishment would be in this situation.
Yeah.
So, like, a chaotic good god would probably be understanding about it and be willing to just sort of brush it off.
Yes.
A lawful good would also be willing to forgive it, but with some sort of penance.
Yeah.
A lawful neutral patron?
Yes.
A lawful neutral patron would absolutely punish someone, even if they weren't fully under their own control when it happened.
Yeah. Oh wow, that would be such a great thing to happen on a table. Oh my god, that would be so interesting. So interesting.
Yeah. All right. And then
Let's roll some dice. Let's do it.
and then the last category that I had, and this is one that I have seen brought up like in Reddit posts and in Tumblr posts before, is the pacifist who not only refuses to fight, but also refuses to allow their allies to harm others.
Oh, that would absolutely take a session 0.
Oh, yes. 100%. There is no way that you are going to be able to just drop this character into a random group without literal players coming to fisticuffs.
Yeah. That one would be hard to do. Now, if you had a whole party of pacifists, that could possibly work in that regard, but that would be extremely difficult to go through. You would have, that would take some work.
I can see this working in like an intrigue sort of game.
Yeah.
One that is not explicitly combat focused. But yeah, it would be very difficult to do that. But like,
I could see a prison break like this would work too.
Yeah. Just a criminal enterprise, like you're doing heists and stuff, and your one rule is that we don't leave bodies behind.
Yeah, that would be fun.
And so figuring out how you're going to get in, get the mark, get out without having to attack anybody.
Oh, here's the story hook. I've got the story hook.
Okay.
You have a paladin and you have a party of rogues, and they are all convicts, and he is transporting the convicts.
He's the parole officer.
Yeah, and he has to keep them basically in line and out of as much trouble as possible, getting them from town A to town B.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would work.
It would work. Again, everyone would still have to be on the same page. It would be difficult, but it could be, if playable, it would be fun. It would be definitely interesting. I do like the Thieves Guild idea as well, especially like if they were like a hoity-toity, like Pink Panther high-end type thing, like they're robbing just the rich because they're all aristocrats as well.
Very Ocean's 11 sort of thing.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, definitely playable.
Yeah, definitely Ocean's 11 and not Joker at the beginning of The Dark Knight.
Yeah. Very different movies.
Very different heists.
Yes.
So yeah, those are the ideas that I had, because the Reddit or Tumblr post that I can recall seeing that really epitomizes this is the one where someone is talking to the life domain cleric, and this life domain cleric is a pacifist and they are not attacking anybody. You know, they're just there to heal and keep everybody topped up. And someone brings up the point of, well, are you really a pacifist because you're going in here and you are facilitating all of this violence?
Right.
Like, these people would not be able to dish out all of this violence to kill all of these people if you were not there healing them.
Right.
Of their wounds as you go along. So you are complicit in this violence.
Yeah, no, and that again comes back to, that is something, if you have a character that's playing like a battlefield medic pacifist character, that is something that you could bring up from an NPC to again develop some of those moral quandaries for your players to wrestle with. Yeah,
so that would be another thing for, like, if you're playing a cleric, if you're playing a life domain cleric, what other aspects of this god are involved here?
Yeah.
So if you're talking about a god like Saint Cuthbert or Heronius, who has war as one of their subdomains, being a combat medic, being out there keeping the soldiers on their feet and fighting, that is perfectly acceptable to them. But if you're doing a god that's more like maybe Palor, who is a little less militant. Although there are lots of paladins of Palor,
Yeah.
there are lots of smashy clerics and paladins who are clerics and paladins of Palor canonically and within the fan base. But you could have a god like Palor, who's a sun god. They're less tied to this war domain, and so they might have more of an issue with it. And then you could have someone who is, a chaotic good god, who is like Ilana, who is a goddess of the wilds, and all of this wanton death and destruction is absolutely not okay with her.
Right. Yeah.
So these are aspects that you can dial into, and you can use story elements to further accentuate how it's going to play out.
Yeah, no, I think, and I said all of these would be super fun to play. Like I said, it does take a bit of thinking. It does kind of crank up that difficulty level a bit. But the other type of pacifist that we haven't really touched on too much would be obviously like your horny bard. And their solution to everything is just kind of schmooze and maybe flirt and try to get their way out of things that way as well. But again, most of their spells would be to give points of inspiration or otherwise. I don't think bards don't have something like Hex, do they?
I mean, you have vicious mockery, cutting words, those sorts of things.
But they don't take away die rolls like Hex would or Curse would from a cleric. Like I know you have Hex from a cleric where they take a -1d4 to their rolls. Bane. Okay, yeah. So something like Bane where they're
I think it depends. I don't think it's on the default bard list, but I think that there are some of the subclasses that are capable of casting Bane and similar spells.
right.
But actually, yes, it is on the bard list.
Okay, excellent. But playing a character that could either like limit the effectiveness of the enemy by subtracting from their die rolls or just with crazy high charisma rolls to talk and schmooze their way out of a sticky situation, kind of smooth troubled waters before tempers start flaring is another way to play this kind of character as well.
Right, yeah. There was I can't remember which one it was. It's one of the Hawk and Fisher novels by Simon Green. They're doing a job, and one of the characters is basically a police negotiator.
Ooh, okay.
And they have this innate magic ability to where as long as they are not engaging in any threatening gesture, if they are not being threatening, they cannot be harmed. Like,
okay.
Like projectiles will divert away from them and things like that.
Interesting.
And so having something like that, maybe making a magic item.
Yeah, I was just thinking like homebrewing a magic item.
Making a magic item for a bard that basically functions like the sanctuary spell.
Okay, yeah.
Where as long as they are not being offensive, they're not attacking, they're not throwing out damaging spells, as long as they are maintaining that pacifist ideology, they just can't be attacked.
Yeah. No, I like that. And I think that would be an interesting homebrew to run as well. That or something that as long as they're not taking hostile action, maybe they get advantage or something more on charisma checks as well. So it'll help them, again, talk their way out of problems or convince people to look elsewhere. These aren't the droids you're looking for type thing. Would definitely be a fun way to take on that as well.
Yeah. All right. I think I've reached the end of what I had for talking points for tonight. Do you have anything else you want to bring up?
No, I think that's it. And again, we did focus a lot on the D&D and the cleric spells. Something like Kids on Bikes, something again more story driven.
Oh yeah, Kids on Bikes would be easy to play a pacifist.
Yeah, it'd be much easier to play those and that kind of things. Old Gods of Appalachia could be very workable as well.
Yeah.
With different systems.
Yeah, but with Kids on Bikes, just even narratively, it's easy to be the kid that doesn't fight people.
Yeah.
It's easy to be the kid that gets beaten up by the bullies because you won't fight back.
Yeah.
I'm not recommending that you do that.
Right.
But it is easy to be that character.
Yeah. In that case, I'd almost want to go full Shaggy on that one and actually play the kid that's a full-on coward. And instead of fighting, just turns and flees.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be... That probably would be the same character,
Yeah, very likely, yeah.
They would run away from danger, and if danger caught them, they wouldn't fight back.
Yeah, they just kind of fawn or freeze.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely that. I'm thinking, again, that would be a fairly interesting character to play. It wouldn't be the one I would probably jump to first, but It would be a challenging way to play, and I think it would be a fun experience on the table.
All right. Well, in that case, thank you everyone for listening tonight. If you have any comments, suggestions, or ideas, send us an email undercommentaste@gmail.com or come join us on our Discord. You can find a link to the Discord as well as a link to our itch store, undercommentaste.itch.io, through our website, undercommentaste.com.
Thank you for listening. We're so very happy you found us. If this is your first time listening, you can find our other episodes where we'll do deep dives. We do homebrews. We've been working on kind of like a pre-alpha brainstorm for Ian's game Post-Apocalyptia. We've talked with other game creators, but you can find us at Undercommon Taste on your podcatcher of choice.
Next episode is going to be our 6th anniversary episode.
Dum, dum, dum. Nice.
And it's going to be on Terraskmas again for the first
Yay!
time since we started the podcast.
The stars have aligned once again.
They have. And I mean, that is the reason why we started the podcast when we did. Why this podcast is on Wednesdays is because that's what day of the week Terraskmas was on that year whenever we started it. So for next episode, we are going to be having a one-shot game. We're going to be playing Raccoon Sky Pirates. I am still not going to tell you who's going to be in it because we still have to finish finalizing schedules and everything. So just in case, in the very unlikely event that we have to sub somebody out at the last minute, I'm not telling you who else in that game.
It's going to be fun.
And then after we get done with that episode, because our anniversary episode is going to be episode 199, the following episode on the 23rd of September is going to be episode 200.
Nice.
And we are going to be doing another one shot for that game. And we're going to be playing Pirate Borg.
Yes.
And we have finalized the guest list. We have figured out a date. We have not recorded yet. And so until we record, I'm not disclosing anything.
The contracts are signed and the souls are in escrow.
Right. Although I think because as of right now, the recording date that we have set is actually after the release of next episode. I think by the time we're actually recording the Raccoon Sky Pirates game, we will be able to disclose who is in the Pirate Borg game.
Okay.
I think we will have everything ironed out and set by then.
Perfect.
So, but anyway, that was a lot of rambling to say that we have 2 actual plays for the next 2 episodes, and we're not telling you who's in them. Neener.
We know something you don't know. You don't. Oh, wait.
Yeah. I will say everybody who is going to be in games, they are all members of our Discord. So if you come and join our Discord and you look at the members list, you might be able to figure out who it is.
Maybe.
Just maybe. Now, granted, we do have a larger member list than the roster for these games, but I'm digressing again. We need to just go ahead and wrap up. So thank you, everyone. Stay safe. We'll see you in 2 weeks for our anniversary.
Let's get ready for Uncle Terry and happy gaming.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Undercommon Taste. Our theme song is Massacre Ann, written and performed by Mary Kroll and used with permission. You can find Mary online at marykroll.bandcamp.com or on Patreon at patreon.com/Dr. Mary C. Kroll. Our logo is by David Sutherland. You can find more of David's work on deviantart.com/David Sutherland or on instagram.com/Willex_73. We'll be back in 2 weeks, so stay safe and we'll see you then.